Greetings and welcome to Cybersecurity Today. I'm your host, Jim Wiggins. If this is your first time tuning into our program, allow me a few moments to introduce what we're all about. So, what exactly is Cybersecurity Today? Well, it's a show engineered to explore the realm of computer security in a stimulating and insightful way. Cybersecurity Today is a half-hour broadcast utilizing a talk show news bulletin format to dissect the themes, issues, and contemporary events in the cybersecurity arena. Our mission with this program is to dispel the murkiness and complexity often associated with the cybersecurity field. For our viewers who are already active professionals in this sector, this show will deliver a pulse on the current state of affairs. We feature a variety of esteemed guests to delve into topics that hold significant relevance to the cybersecurity landscape. Our objective is to offer information to a diverse audience, from beginners to industry veterans and everyone in between. You're sure to gain fresh insight into cybersecurity. All right, let's set the stage and discuss the structure of the show. This will help you understand what's in store. Today's show is divided into two parts. Our first segment, known as Cyber Bites, encapsulates several current events unfolding in the cybersecurity sector. Some of these developments might be familiar, while others may be entirely new to you. Moving into our second segment, we're honored to welcome Mr. Inno Eroraha, the visionary founder and chief strategist of NetSecurity Corporation. In today's discussion, Mr. Eroraha will explore the critical topic of From Breach to Resolution, Revolutionizing Incident Response. With over 2 decades of experience in cybersecurity, forensics, and incident response, he has been at the forefront of helping organizations protect their assets from advanced cyber threats. As the inventor of the Threat Responder platform, Mr. Eroraha brings a wealth of knowledge in real-time threat detection, prevention, and resolution. Whether you're looking to enhance your incident response capabilities or seek cutting-edge strategies to address cyber breaches effectively, this session promises to be both enlightening and impactful. We're excited for you to join us as we dive into the evolving challenges and innovative solutions shaping the future of incident response. Okay, so let's get into the Cyber Bite segment and talk about what's going on in the cybersecurity industry. In current events, December 2024 witnessed a noticeable increase in cybersecurity-related mergers and acquisitions, with 37 deals announced. This trend reflects the industry's efforts to consolidate resources and enhance capabilities to address the evolving cyber threat landscape. The surge in M&A activity underscores the critical importance of robust cybersecurity measures in today's digital age. In other news, cybersecurity firm Fortinet confirmed that a zero-day vulnerability in its firewall was actively exploited in attacks. The company released an advisory following reports from security researchers who observed the exploits in early December. This incident emphasizes the necessity for organizations to promptly apply security patches and maintain vigilant monitoring of their systems. In other news, as we move into 2025, experts predict an increase in sophisticated cyber threats, particularly those leveraging artificial intelligence. Organizations are advised to adopt proactive cybersecurity measures, including advanced threat detection systems and comprehensive employee training programs to mitigate potential risks. The evolving threat landscape necessitates continuous adaptation and investment in cybersecurity infrastructure. Those are some of the most prominent headlines currently shaping the cybersecurity industry. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. When we return, we'll be joined by Mr. Inno Eroraha, founder and chief strategist of NetSecurity Corporation, to explore revolutionary strategies and best practices for incident response. With his expertise in cybersecurity, forensics, and innovation threat responder platform, this discussion promises to provide invaluable insights into effectively managing breaches and mitigating threats. You won't want to miss this impactful session. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
Since 1974, the Women's Center has provided mental health services in Northern Virginia and D.C. 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness each year, but the high cost of counseling can often leave members of our community suffering alone. The Women's Center offers our services on a sliding scale, so no one is turned away due to their inability to pay. For 45 years, the Women's Center has been a beacon of hope and healing. Visit thewomenscenter.org to learn more.
Welcome back to Cybersecurity Today. Does your organization face the daunting task of responding to sophisticated cyber breaches while safeguarding critical assets? Are you seeking expert insights to revolutionize your incident response strategy and achieve better resilience against evolving threats? To help shed light on these critical issues, we are thrilled to welcome Mr. Inno Eroraha to the show. Inno is the founder and chief strategist of NetSecurity Corporation, bringing over 2 decades of expertise in cybersecurity, forensics, and incident response. As the inventor of the threat responder platform, Inno has pioneered innovative solutions that provide real-time threat detection, prevention, and resolution. He has worked with government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, and financial institutions, helping them protect their assets and recover from breaches. With his extensive experience, Inno will help us explore strategies to transform incident response, mitigate risk, and neutralize adversarial threats in today's challenging cybersecurity landscapes. Inno, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. I thought maybe what we could do is actually maybe first kind of set the stage and ask if you could maybe spend just a few minutes and talk about what we mean by the term incident response, and how you see it kind of evolving, and maybe ultimately what are the kind of the major shifts that are going on in that space.
Okay. First of all, in today's landscape, there are a lot of threat actors, whether nation state or lone wolf operator or even disgruntled employees. They are likely to cause issues, disrupt your business environment. So we need a way to swiftly identify threats and respond to the threats in terms of neutralizing the threat so that it doesn't cause any widespread disruption to your business.
Understood, understood. You know, one of the terms that I've heard brought up is this idea of being cyber resilient. I'm wondering, what does that mean, and how can an organization try to accomplish or achieve that?
That's a good question. So if you, in the United States, for example, in the South, there is a hurricane, a tornado of some sort. A lot of times it will totally eliminate the neighborhood, wiping down or flattening buildings, right, that have been standing for years. So cybersecurity is the same thing, right? So when you have your enterprise, you have your business going through the enterprise, and all of a sudden you get attacked or you get compromised. Again, whether insider or nation state adversaries, and basically they grind your business to a halt, right? Because you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the process, you don't have the strategy to essentially detect or necessarily, predict the attack, prevent the attack, investigate the attack, and recover from the attack in a timely fashion. So that is what cyber resilience means, that your organization is able to withstand and still operate with very minimal disruption to your business.
Understood, understood. I'm wondering if you can maybe kind of expand upon or provide insight into kind of leadership's role in helping with cyber resilience. Do they play a role? What is it? How do they help?
Absolutely. To implement cyber resilience in an organization is not isolated or delegated to the IT or the security teams alone, right? It is a corporate, it should be treated as a business function, right? So executives and business owners and leaders, they auto set the strategy, they auto set the tone for the business to be able to embrace cyber resilience by building it, interweaving it into the corporate culture so that everybody within the organization understand their role to make sure that they do their part in case of a cyber attack that may disrupt, cripple, or even bankrupt the company, as the case may be.
So without asking you to divulge anything confidential, can you share maybe an example of an organization, maybe not by name, but by just, again, as an example, of where you've helped them build a successful set of resilient methodologies against cyber attacks and intrusions?
Right. So my experience, decades of experience in the field, I've helped different organizations address cyber resiliency in a lot of different ways, right? It's not just one organization that we focus on, but we may help organizations develop incident response capabilities. We may also help another organization do things like instituting a threat defense methodology, so the organization is able to detect advanced attacks and come up with ways to neutralize the attacks. So it is my experience in helping organizations really varies based on what I'm engaged to do. In some cases, we are engaged to do adversarial simulation, basically to test the process to make sure that the organization can really withstand attacks if there were a real one.
Understood. Let's talk about lessons learned. I'm curious, based on all your experience in this particular space, what's one of the most challenging cyber incidents you've run into, and how did the organization try to address it?
A lot of them. A lot of organizations. I mean, as I've been calling to investigate all kinds of cyber crimes, whether it's the government, commercial, state organization, federal, and so on and so forth. So one of the investigations we did, say about a 5,000 people organization, right? I'm not going to say what industry, but they were breached, right? They were breached for days, if not weeks, right? And they were trying to do the investigation internally. Well, and when they engaged us, they didn't want to share any information with us. They said, we want you to figure it out. We said, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to share information. You have to share intel so that we can better help you. Otherwise, we'll be starting from square one. And at any rate, we began the investigation. We deployed technology called Threat Responder. And within a few minutes, right, we were able to identify what the root cause, what the attack surface was. Patient 1, patient 0, we're able to identify relatively quickly, right? And we told the customer and said, hey, we've identified the root cause. This is how they got in. This is how they moved around the network, so lateral movement. And this is how they are actually establishing persistence, right? So that they can leave off the land or come back to the network to steal more information. So it was quite interesting, right? The customer did not want to, they said, hey, our vendor cannot come up with a patch. I said, well, you either have to take the system offline or, basically, deal with the consequences, right? And the customer chose to deal with the consequences by basically still getting exposed until the vendor came up with a solution. So that was a real challenge.
Understood. That's a really interesting example. Maybe building on that, top of that, I was wondering if you could talk to me a little bit about some of the common mistakes that you see organizations make. Not just that, but just in general, when it comes to responding to data breaches. There's probably something consistently you see them do.
Absolutely. The one thing that I see organizations do is, one is they don't have a security, in some cases they don't have a security policy, right? They don't have incident response plan or incident response capabilities, right? And moreover, when they get the telltale sign that something is happening, right? But they don't recognize that it is a sign that something bad is going to happen on the network. For example, they might see, one of the assistants might say, hey, there is a threat, there is a virus on the machine. And what would they do? They go out there, they pull the machine off the network, right? They re-image or re-ghost it, they put it back on the network without doing any root cause analysis, without understanding how that malware got there to begin with, right? So when they deploy the system back, guess what? You haven't made any change. The adversary now can still, get back into the network without coming up with new techniques. And another mistake organizations make is the fact that they will try to investigate. They will try to basically shut down the machine, look at logs. When they do that, they spoil the evidence. It's called evidence spoliation in forensics nomenclature, if you will. So when they do that, it makes our work very difficult, right? To try to understand what was the state of the system before the adversary, after the adversary left, right? But if you log onto the system and begin investigating, you spoil the evidence, you delete data, you delete critical artifacts.
Understood. Do you find that there are specific industries that face their own unique set of challenges when we deal with incident or cyber incident management, or is it kind of consistently across all different sectors the same?
Well, obviously, adversaries don't really care who you are, right? What they care about is the value you provide. You could be a 5-person organization that is coming up with a new research in quantum medicine, right? Cancer discovering research, right? And they will target you, right? So to answer your question, yeah, there are some industries. The government have their own type of threat actors that is after them. They may be after military intelligence, and they may be into stealing national secrets. They may be threat actors that also target the healthcare organization, for example, right? Medical patient data, so they can try to exfiltrate that data, demand ransomware, and basically reach, in some cases, do what they call a third extortion, where they basically reach out to the patient, right? So there is that, and then you have the financial, have their own set of challenges in terms of incident response. So unless there is some type of framework that your industry embraces, it becomes really a real challenge.
Understood. So you talk about threats. I know that one of the big buzzwords we hear in cyber today is this idea of threat intelligence. What role does that play in the incident response process?
Yeah. So before I answer that question, let me give you an example, right? So in the real world, in the US, for example, threat intelligence is shared all the time, right? If your fingerprint is captured by one state or government agency, that information can be shared and say, hey, we have a suspect, one of the 9/11 attackers. We see them moving around in Dallas, Texas, right? And it's in this location in Texas as we speak. So law enforcement can actually apprehend that individual, right? So threat intelligence is essentially you getting some kind of feed, intelligence, data from some entity. We call them threat intelligence producers, or it could be government agencies, it could be commercial entities, it could be open source, right? So they share the intelligence, say, hey, these URLs, these domains, they are known bad, right? These IP addresses, this hash or cryptographic fingerprint of a file is known bad. This email address is known bad. So anytime you see it on your network, you ought to neutralize it. You ought to call somebody and begin to do an investigation, because most likely the actor is on your network. So threat intelligence is very critical in continuous monitoring of of threats in your environment, in incident response and forensics, and in computing in general.
Does it have a role in terms of integrating with the organization's cybersecurity strategy, like collectively? I mean, you talked earlier about this idea of leadership playing a role relative to criticality of assets. I'm just wondering, what role does that threat intelligence play in helping kind of shape the control framework that the organizations implement?
Right. So as part of a company's or an organization business strategy, right, you have your HR function, you have your manufacturing function. There is also the business or cybersecurity strategy that basically defines how the organization is going to, what process is going to be in place to make sure that the organization is proactively protected, right? So you have your security policies, you have your incident response plans, you have your disaster recovery plans, right? And you have all these things, you have your framework, you're doing continuous monitoring, right? So all of that, basically, as part of your security operation, your cyber operation, there ought to be threat intelligence. Otherwise, you would be blinded. You would not have a clue if your data is in the dark web, or if the intelligence that I talked about, getting bad IP address, known bad actors, what they call TTPs, techniques and procedures, right? You will be blinded. So therefore, you won't be able to detect threats with high degree of precision.
So I want to maybe build on top of that. I assume that not all threat intelligence is created equal. How does an organization determine if they've got reliable and actionable threat intelligence streams coming into it?
That's a good question, right? So the intelligence is only as good as the producer, right? There is a saying that you get what you pay for, right? So if you get something that is really cheap, whatever the threat intelligence is, right, you have to do validation, right? So a threat intelligence producer, for example, might say, hey, this IP address, I rank it a 10 instead of a 1 or a 0, right? Another one might say, oh, it's a 2. Right? So you have to do your own internal assessment and over time you'll be able to determine which of the producers, whether they're government sources or commercial or open source, it's giving you a lot of false positive, or the fidelity isn't really there to give you the assurance that when a real threat comes in, you'll be able to detect it and neutralize it.
Understood. I know that you've built a program or a platform out there called Threat Responder, and it's really kind of a type of technology. I was wondering if you could spend a few minutes and talk to us about the role of technology in helping, like with Threat Responder, being able to improve the speed and the accuracy of the incident response process.
Right. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know what Threat Responder is, it's a cyber resilient endpoint protection, prevention, response, and response platform, right? So the reason why we built that was because we were getting we're calling left and right. Hey, we have a breach in Chicago. We have a breach in New York. We need you to fly to all of these places. And in some cases, they're shipping you drives, right? You don't have the time to do that. Nobody has the time in this hyper technology growth, right? So what we did was we decided to build a product, like Threat Responder in this case, to essentially help investigators, forensic investigator, to be able to investigate at scale, right? So I don't have to travel to New York or Paris or Tokyo to do an investigation. I can sit in my pajamas and basically do investigation, not just one machine at a time, 10 machine, 100 machine, 1,000 machine at a time, relatively quickly, right?
Yep.
And I can produce results to executives that are demanding answers, pretty fast. So that is the rule. And a technology like that has a threat intelligence built into it. It has AI-powered detection built into it. It has other capabilities like insider threat detection built into it. So that allows an organization without government to be able to do investigation without hiring a brigade of people to essentially investigate a threat.
So that segues kind of nicely into my next question, and that's asking about how do you then balance the automation component that I think I kind of heard you kind of allude to versus the need for human oversight or human involvement? It seems like there's this kind of ebb and pull that's going on. Can you speak about that for a moment?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, based on my experience, right, technicians or engineers would tend to rely so much on technology that they ignore getting involved, right? So when you have a case like the one you described, right, you want to leverage threat intelligence, like I talked about, behavior-based indicators, like the MITRE ATT&CK catalog, right? It's a catalog of bad behavior that threat actors are likely to utilize, right? So a technology needs to be able to provide all of those value because they are fast, right? And they can actually do some of the triaging, containing or isolating endpoints on your behalf. But you, as a human being, we're strategic thinkers. We think critically, right? So whereas an automated system may say, oh, this is a threat, I neutralize, I contain, I isolate the endpoint on your behalf, you might come back and say, oh no, this is not a threat, right? So you need that human intervention always, right? You may not be as fast as a machine, but at least you need to do spot checking so you can fine tune your algorithms, right? Your detection algorithms, and be more precise in future detections.
Understood. Understood. Last question for you. It's been a great interview. Thanks for coming in. It's been flying by. But I ask every guest to look into their crystal ball, right? What kinds of emerging technologies do you envision are going to define this space of incident response, incident handling in the coming years? Is there anything that keeps you up at night, anything that you're seeing in terms of trends? What are your thoughts on that?
So AI is a beautiful thing, right? And so adversaries love AI. They love, anybody can write malicious code, right? And using AI, right? And so I think we're going to see a lot of that, using AI to basically hack into targets of interest by the adversaries, right? There is also, what I'm afraid of is, we rely so much on AI, on machine learning, and so on and so forth. There are systems that organizations have in place to essentially, build these machine learning or AI engines, right? So what happens if those machines themselves are compromised, right? Maybe the bad guys will inject malicious code. So instead of giving you direction to, or what is the best way to get to Tokyo by walking, it will give you direction to somewhere else, right? So, so I'm afraid of that. There is also a challenge faced by quantum computing, right? So, we've relied so much on, strong cryptographic algorithms like elliptical curve cryptography, RSA algorithm, for example. And now you have the threat of quantum computing that is coming in, right? And then you have things like, zero trust, for example, which is a good thing to help hopefully neutralize some of the, incoming threat if organizations choose to embrace.
Understood. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been a great interview. I really appreciate you coming in and sharing your expertise in the incident response world.
Thank you very much. There is a lot to go through, but thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So that wraps up today's episode. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Mr. Inno Eroraha for sharing his invaluable expertise on revolutionizing incident response. His insights into mitigating cyber threats, managing breaches, and leveraging innovative technologies like the Threat Responder platform have been truly enlightening. We hope today's discussion has been provided you with actionable strategies and a deeper understanding of the challenges and solutions in modern cybersecurity. For more information about cybersecurity today and stay informed about future episodes, please visit our show's website at www.cybersecuritytoday.org. Additionally, you can scan the QR code displayed at the bottom of your screen for quick and easy access to our show's website. Finally, we welcome your questions or comments via email at contact@cybersecuritytoday.org. Feel free to reach out to us. We're here to assist and engage with you. That does it for today. Thanks a lot for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next broadcast. Stay safe, stay informed. Have a great day.